So, Huxley,
What?
do you know what we're talking about on the podcast today?
What?
We're talking about Bigfoot. Do you know what Bigfoot is?
No.
Have you ever heard of the Sasquatch?
No.
Well, it's a story that there's a giant creature that's like 10 feet tall, lives in the forest, that's like a person, except it's super hairy. It has giant feet.
So they call it Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Another word for it is a sabe.
A sabe?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I'd never heard that term.
They,
Yeah.
how do they clean your gums?
What?
Like in your teeth. Like
What does this have to do with Bigfoot?
nothing.
Okay. Well, you're listening to Life, the Universe, and Everything Else. Today on the show, Sasquatch Unearthed, The Ridge, The Sinister Truth Revealed.
Life, the Universe, and Everything Else explores the intersection of science and society. Original music is produced by Ian James, and this episode was edited by Marissa McCool. Find her on Patreon at patreon.com/QAF. Spoilers, none of that happened. This does not live up to its title.
My name is Jim Newman, and with me today I have Lauren Bailey.
Hi.
Ashlyn Noble.
Hello.
Dave Bonwick.
Hi.
And Laura Creek Newman.
Hi there.
I was not sure until it came out of my mouth whether I was going to say Dave or David. And I definitely had a split-second deer in the headlights moment over it.
We all heard that.
We have Sasquatch at the table with us. Why?
Yeah. So, as listeners may be aware, at the end of last episode, we promised something other than Sasquatch Unearthed, The Ridge, The Sinister Truth Revealed.
The third. Something other.
And we decided we didn't want to do that, as often happens. So, here we are. We watched a YouTube documentary.
Film?
Found footage festival?
Instead. And we are going to talk about that.
Are you ready for me to blow your mind?
Sure.
Bigfoot's real.
No, it's not.
Did you say Bigfoot is real?
No, it's not.
Listen to me, Skeptismo. There are 1.7 million known species on the planet, and biologists estimate this represents only a quarter of the total species on the planet.
The other 3/4 are microscopic.
Off the top, I want to say I was really impressed with the diversity in the film. There was middle-aged white guys both with and without beards.
Also with and without hats.
And profile shots, and head-on shots, and at an angle shots.
It was homogenous.
Wait, I want to specify the angle. 45 degrees.
The shots were very strange, especially for the length of time that they held them. I know we shouldn't make fun of people for their technical prowess, but really, it took away from any message they were sending.
So I was recently looking at some footage from Tom Hooper Les Miserables that they did, and just looking at how tight and close up all of those shots are for no good reason.
And celebration of the nostril.
Yeah, and the actual reason is probably like they only had that much frame that they could plausibly dress as period Paris. And so they just worked with what they had, I guess. Like, I don't know what was out of frame in all of these shots in this YouTube documentary, but it must have been horrendous for them, not wanting to show it.
That reminds me of a line from a show we watched the other day. It was a very extreme close-up of this guy, and what the guy said after was, you know what that video could have used? More of your face. Yes, this was a very low-budget attempt at a high-budget documentary on the History Channel. Like, they made it aiming for the stars, and they hit very low.
With the stars are, is mermaids real?
Yes.
Including the grammatical error.
So obviously in the show notes we'll link to this film, which is available for free on YouTube.
With ads.
Yeah, with
So many ads.
plentiful ads that frequently cut off the talking heads in the middle of a sentence.
And then it
middle of a
starts up
word.
at the after the sentence, which is often very funny.
Yes. Sometimes it did sound as though they were responding directly to the ads. But there's also plentiful small text on the screen stating, access hours of additional Small Town Monsters content when you become a channel member, including original films, episodic series, behind the scenes, and more.
Hours more of this content sounds like something I would pay to avoid.
It does sound like something the CIA would subject you to at a black site.
Yes.
We did spend a few minutes before we chose this one, choosing of the buffet of Sasquatch on the ridge, underground, underwater, from the stars, whatever they were called. So we have content for a couple of months.
Oh, boy. I don't know if I can do another Sasquatch one, but this channel, Small Town Monsters, they produce a lot of this content, apparently. So this one, the first thing that really struck me about this is the copious amount of B-roll that they use.
But both you and I know that there is no film in this camera.
As is common. C-roll.
C-roll.
Yeah, Lauren. They're
was-
saying C-roll. That's common for documentaries, but this B-roll struck me as particularly egregious considering the fact that it was like a combination of like aerial shots of farmland or forests interspliced with, I would say, extremely bad, like, PlayStation 2 or 3 level renders of, like, big feet. Are we gonna go with big feet or Bigfoots?
Bulgers, brace girdles, good bodies, brook horses. Oh, yeah. And proud foots.
Proud feet! Bigfoot's is...
No!
Skunk apes.
Yes, skunk apes.
I definitely prefer big feet.
I prefer big feet, too.
Can't stand you 'cause your feet's too big.
I'm gonna keep saying Bigfoots, I'm sorry. It's gonna
We can
happen.
have that diversity on our show, Laura.
Yes. Ideological diversity is, of course, the most important kind of diversity.
Except this didn't even have that!
So, yeah, like, it's not clear to me. Obviously, this B-roll is for, like, illustrative purposes. It's what you use B-roll for. This is the cutaway shots that illustrate what is being talked about in a vague way that documentaries use all the time, right? But at no point was there any disclaimer that this is, like, an artist's rendering or an artist being used loosely here.
Yeah, it's very much like a thing that they want you to believe is real, followed by a thing that is clearly 1999 CGI, followed by some nature footage.
Mm-hmm.
And none of it is differentiated by what the people are saying. It seems to have no bearing to what is being actually talked about most of the time. Sometimes it's loosely related.
Even the ones that are directly... I'm assuming those are the ones that they want you to believe are clearly somebody's crayon drawings of the incident.
Yeah. It's those are the ones where it's, especially when they were having the discussion of the white Bigfoot. There was a big discussion of these white colored ones. All of those were like pastels and sketches, basically. Not anything. But definitely there were some where you could see like, oh, I think I might have seen this found footage or whatever from something on the History Channel before of like UFOs or something like that. So you've seen these kinds of things before, and then, yeah, it would just be random other stuff put in there.
They would also often talk about how, like, X person saw this thing, and they're very sure that it was not a bear, while showing footage of bear?
Yeah.
Very weird choices.
Well, yes, there was that whole thing, we're jumping around, but there was...
Yeah.
So a theme that comes up is that nobody in this thing can identify any kind of animal.
No. I don't know what any of them look like.
Ashlyn made up a song about bears with mange.
Bears with mange!
That's because they're all bears with me.
Yes!
So I'd like to get into everything that they associate with this Sasquatch phenomena. So there was aliens and UFOs. There was panthers or other large black cats. There were pterodactyls and or thunderbirds.
Well, they also called them, what, flying mantises?
Flying mantises.
Yeah.
Manta.
Mentees.
Flying
Like well, they said it was like a stingray in the sky.
Yeah.
Stingray, that was it. Sorry.
Well, and I need to point out, as they were saying the word stingray in the sky, there was a visual of a pterodactyl.
Yeah,
that is
like we're talking like 1996 Jurassic Park.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
So yes, stingray.
Yeah.
Going up to the stingrays.
Okay, keep going.
And there was,
Lightning.
Lightning.
Portals.
Portals. Dogmen and power lines.
Yep. Power sources.
And then they went on to list, it's gotta be like a dozen different man-made or human-made structures or signs of technology. Two of the talking heads just went and just rattled all of these off.
So I have no doubt there's an energy connection to it. So you have many cases around high-tension power lines, power plants, radio towers, cell phone towers, gas lines, gas wells, bodies of water, railroad tracks.
Sightings of especially the cryptids are taking place around gas well lines, power lines, water sources, windmill towers, cell phone towers, electrical lines. It always seems to be something that jumps out at us right away when we're investigating the territory. We'll happen to look over and see, sure enough, there's a gas well right there or a power line right there.
Basically, everything humans built attract Bigfoots, and they said, there's too many of these sightings to be a coincidence.
It was like, every time we see one of these, we look around and there's a power line or a railroad track.
My dudes, you are in Western Pennsylvania.
Oh.
I liked when they said,
the connection between Sasquatch and UFOs has always been dubious.
You don't say! Really?
I really enjoyed it seems to be just stream of consciousness riffing that some of these talking heads were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They were saying things like, well, this woman told me about this, but she only told me about it a few minutes ago before I went on camera, so I haven't really done any research, but here I am going to present it to the world. There was a whole Linda Moulton Howe feel to the whole thing where it's beautiful. There's no research.
Definitely very serious journalism going on here.
Very serious.
Somebody told me about this, so I'm just going to report it.
I'm going to repeat it verbatim and assert, just as they did, that what they saw was definitely true, despite the fact that they cannot identify anything, nor have they looked into anything, nor have I.
Oh, I forgot. They are also associated with big booms and maybe avalanches.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Earthquakes, right. Sasquakes.
So that is, they said, we used to call those skyquakes.
Skyquake.
Yeah, I've been watching this for years, and there have been some mystery booms reported up along the ridge. You know, back in the 60s, we used to call these skyquakes.
I think it was Laura said, oh, you mean where they're doing all of the logging and mining and fracking? That's where the mystery booms are coming from?
Yeah.
I forgot the Will-o'-the-Wisps in the list, too.
Oh, yeah. So they said, well, some of these sounds are explainable as meteorites exploding, but some of them aren't.
Some of them aren't.
Yeah.
Some of them aren't, right. There's no possible explanation. Can we please talk about how every time these investigators spend time in the woods at night, they hear yowls and growls and bangs and sounds, and what could possibly be making these sounds?
Yes, my favorite thing that you yelled was, oh no, there are wild animals loose in the Amazon!
Which is, of course, a classic line from A Creature from the Black Lagoon.
And they reported for weeks on end that they would hear things coming from the woods, howls, screams, knocks, growls.
There's only one explanation. The country is full of wild animals.
It is our favorite thing to yell at that, and it was classic. You're in the forest, in a mountain. Yes.
Yeah, there's noise at night, and you all look like people who should understand that the forest makes noise at night.
considering the number of hunters that they reference, and many of these people, based on the number of guns that were talked about, I assume some of them are at least hunters. One would think that they spend time in the woods and recognize that there are things to hunt in said woods that might make noise.
Well, based on the stories that they told, though, it seemed pretty clear that these were all Rick Dyer types. The shoot at Bigfoot first, ask questions later types. It definitely sounds like these are the kind of guys who will go into the woods and shoot at anything anytime they hear a sound.
Just be careful you don't blow your own face off.
How loaded is it?
Well, if anyone could shoot themselves in the face with an unloaded firearm, it's you.
Oh no, I didn't realize an animal came in blaze orange.
Oh!
Listeners, you may think that we are that we're jumping all over the place here, but this is how this documentary went. We're about as frenetic as it is.
Yeah. I do want to ask, at any point did any of you... So this is called Sasquatch Unearthed, The Ridge, The Sinister Truth Revealed. At any point did you have any guesses as to what the sinister truth was?
Can I say what I thought it was going to be before we started?
Okay, sure.
I thought the government was going to be involved in the Sasquatch cover-up, and the sinister truth was going to be that they were covering it up because the Sasquatch were, I don't know, spies, who knows, whatever.
Speaking of plosives...
Anyway, that is what I suspected in the beginning. That was not the case. It was even weirder than that. Basically, yeah.
Having watched it? No. I don't know what the secret revealed was.
I think it was that they come from a different plane or a mirror universe, and that's why their tracks just end abruptly.
That got like 3 sentences, though.
It seemed to be a recurring theme.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There was a lot of discussion early about how they could teleport. And
dimension doored.
Yeah, and then they added maybe they're going through with dimensions because, as some researchers believe, they do exist, as they stated.
The existence of portals has not been scientifically proven, although some credentialed researchers have hypothesized about them, and many others claim, based on their own observation, that they simply do exist. If these doorways to other realms are in fact real, could they serve as pathways for strangeness to enter the world that we sense?
Who wrote this narration?
Gladys.
The guy talking for most of it, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, back to the sinister question. I had posited that we were going to learn about how it was not the benevolent Sasquatch, but like a malevolent Sasquatch of some kind, that they're actually a predator, and that. I don't think they went with that. I didn't get that vibe from them. I did get a sinister vibe from them with this whole, apparently, when the tracks stop, they're just stepping back onto their UFO to go fly off elsewhere, and that kind of rhetoric, but I didn't get, other than their otherness, and I put that in quotation marks, I didn't get what was so sinister about it.
Well, there's one other thought that just kind of occurred to me. There was some talk about them peeping in windows.
Oh, right.
So there's a voyeur element.
And it was noted that the person telling that story is a known Bigfoot investigator, and therefore they targeted him.
Oh, yeah, right. but this Bigfoot is stalking me.
I did learn something else from this documentary that I didn't know before, and that's that Bigfoot come in small sizes, too.
Yes, I love them. There are 4-foot-tall Bigfeet.
But what the strange thing was, they were the size of a child. These weren't large Bigfoot tracks. These weren't 17 or 18-inch tracks. These were about, the size of a dollar bill, very small. For probably the past 30 years, people have been reporting these tracks of a very diminutive, what Bigfoot or what have you.
These were small Bigfoots, small feet.
Small feet. And they were white.
Yeah, they were white.
Or were they exclusively white, or were there small white big feet and regular small big feet.
I think they were only talking about the white ones when they were mentioning the small ones.
Yeah. Anyway, they're very cute. I've never heard of them before.
Maybe Sasquatch have, like, Benjamin Button syndrome. They should.
Could be. So, I think my first guess as things went on as to what the sinister truth was, I don't know why it was so sinister, but they seemed to be talking for quite a while about how big feet could shapeshift into jaguars? Oh, panthers. Well, okay. So, for context, North America doesn't have black panthers, but they're claiming people have seen black panthers, therefore, I guess those black panthers were big feet? So for listeners who are not aware, panther is a colloquial term for one of two relatively closely related types of large cats. Specifically, the darker variants of large cats that are native to two separate continents. The black leopard, which is native to Southeast Asia, or the black jaguar, which is native to Central America. However, there have been in the past some dubious panther sightings in North America that have been attributed to a black cougar variant that have never been confirmed. So I guess what they're saying is that these black cougars are the big feet, or something. So these are all just what are called melanistic, or like genetic variants of these animals that have excess melanin, gives them a darker black color. But they're all called panthers, even though they're from a couple of different species.
Or they're Bigfoot.
So the argument that was made was that, well, people are seeing these strange cats, therefore big feet shapeshift. And then apparently this is where they got into the discussion that we mentioned earlier, where they become all sorts of different creatures, apparently.
And she realizes at that point it's not a kid, it's something upright. She called it a werewolf.
Like werewolves. And again here, this is like several times during the movie, Dave kept saying, they're just describing black bears. That's just a bear. She saw a bear. And then in this one clip.
But this woman insists that what she saw wasn't a black bear. It was upright the whole time on two legs, running very fast.
And she said there are no black bears in the area. So it can't be that. But of course, since we know that there are big feet in the area, it must be big feet. Oh, no, sorry. She didn't say Bigfoots. She said werewolves.
Yeah. But werewolves, as we all know, are just big feet.
Yeah. It can't be black bears because we know that there aren't black bears in the area. Therefore, it must be this other absurd thing.
It's Western Pennsylvania. There are black bears.
Yeah, the shots that they were showing were all forests that look just like ours. There are bears there.
Yeah, based on all of the descriptions of animals, I cannot trust any one of these people to identify or not identify any given animal or what range they might live in naturally.
I admit that I faded in and out of paying attention to the movie. I don't think I missed anything. But I did look up at one point, and there was just straight up werewolf furry porn on the television.
Oh yeah, like a lot of these artists' renderings were definitely like ripped straight from Tumblr.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so Laura and I both burst out laughing when they switched from calling these things werewolves to calling them dogman.
Yeah.
I also think most dogman sightings are misidentified Bigfoot sightings, so this dogman phenomenon is really recent.
Now, as a parent of a 6-year-old, I can attest that this is correct.
Dogman is go. Gotta run and fight and do what's right. His bark is mighty like his bite. Go. Dogman is go. We don't know exactly what that means, but when evil schemes make people scream, oh no! Go, go, go! Dogman is go!
I forgot during our discussion of the tiny big feet to include my favorite line, which was from before I knew that Jem was doing clips, but we should go find it, where one of the talking heads told us that a guy saw one of these tiny big feet, and he looked at it, and the wind blew its fur, and that's how he knew it was real.
Right, yes!
He was just so earnest about it, so sincere in his words that the wind blew its hair, you guys. Like, it was proof.
If you are in a mental state where the thing you're seeing has blowing fur and that's how you know it's real, It's probably not.
Can you tell me what your hands are doing right now? Dear sir who sees that.
Look down.
Yeah, look
How
down.
many fingers do you have? Is that the normal number that you normally have?
Are they vibrating? Do they have auras? Okay.
They call them fingers, but I never see them fing. Oh, there they go.
One thing that Laura mentioned when they were talking about Dogman all the time.
Bigfoot sightings are starting to go down a little bit. Dogman sightings are starting to go up. What is it? I think you got a Bigfoot that you think is a Dogman.
And Laura was like, it's almost as though, like, how people report what they see is, like, culturally mediated.
Yeah. This is something that we see in all sorts of historical texts, and that whatever is in the media or in the culture at the time, that's the type of sightings that people see. And I do wonder, I'd mentioned too, like, was this around the time that the Twilight series came out and all of a sudden werewolves and vampires were all over the place? I can't help but wonder that.
The way that we store and express our memories and the stories that we tell are heavily subject to interpretation. I mean, we are not video recorders. And you see this when you look back at Close Encounters of the Third Kind. You see that the descriptions given to the alien beings match extremely closely to whatever was in the zeitgeist. Like, not even like the cultural zeitgeist, but literally like the pop culture stuff that was airing on TV.
Yeah,
the way
it didn't have to be related to the supernatural in any way. It just had to be in people's imaginations.
Yeah.
And like Betty and Barney Hill.
Yeah, exactly.
The episode of The Outer Limits with the aliens.
That had just aired,
The week before, yeah.
Electrical storms, energy ionization in the air. Could that cause some of these things to appear or to shapeshift?
And they showed a bunch of, like, lightning on screen, but I guess it wasn't quite fantastical looking enough, so over top of this real lightning, they did some, like, Ghostbusters 1980s style, like, painting lightning by hand across the lightning that was being shown on screen.
They crossed the streams.
Okay, if we're going to talk about the quality of their imagery, we should also talk about that they have some really nice footage of the woods or the sound or the cities, and have decided to run that through an older 35mm filter.
Oh yeah,
can give it like little spotlights or just little booms of color in the back,
film grain artifacts.
Yeah. And just randomly throughout this.
Extremely obnoxious, because not only is this not B-roll that they shot, definitely, it was definitely not shot on a film camera.
No.
This was all digital. You can tell. And then they just added that film grain in iMovie or whatever.
And they Abramsed it too.
Oh yeah. They sure as hell did.
They put lens flares on
blooms
everything.
Here, there, and everywhere.
Random snow across, but it was like so amateurish that it would be 3 or 4 different random B-roll clips in a row, but with the same exact snow clip over it. So that was continuous. It was just so like high school project.
I went to a semester of film school. If I hadn't dropped out, I would have gotten kicked out if I had submitted a video like this. I didn't submit any videos, which is why I dropped out. Sorry, Mom.
I think it's really funny that they do that too, because they fail to see how they give the game away as to what is going on in these original clips anyway. They create the conditions with all of these overlays to make lens flares, to make blips in the sky, to make all of this stuff, to make it look authentic and old, as I put air quotes around that. And it's like, maybe these kinds of artifacts are just what was on that film to begin with, and we shouldn't investigate it any further. But nope, just fail to see it at all.
As far as I can tell, and this is, I think, possibly unique. I haven't watched a lot of these YouTube videos, but this is something that, like, really, it struck me thinking about it after watching it. I don't think we actually saw at any point during that documentary that we watched any actual footage or even purported footage that they took of Bigfoot at any point.
No, never.
it was all like B-roll or like renders that they did or somebody else did and they licensed, or somebody else did and they just stole. Who knows?
It felt like some of the things had been used from other things, and again, they stole or they bought the rights to or whatever they happened to do for it. But there was nothing where, and again, this goes back to our discussion of all of this B-roll and wondering like what is actually supposed to be the thing that they're talking about and what is just filling the visual field. But yes, there was never anything credited as this video was shot, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there was definitely some bits from the Dyer videos, like the Rick Dyer stuff.
Oh, really?
That was super...
I didn't clock that.
It was superimposed, so you would see their drone shots of the Pennsylvania hills behind it, but it was at different levels of opacity. So you would see the hills through Bigfoot's chest or something.
The hills are alive with the sound of...
Bigfoot is real.
I see.
It was a choice.
Yeah. It's... Sorry.
Yeah, the only video that did get, the one that I at least clocked, the closest to something that could be considered a real incident was, for some reason, a game camera above a campsite that had a Bigfoot walking into the frame, but not really doing anything other than just kind of walking in and then...
And it was totally unclear as to whether that was new footage or footage they sourced from somewhere. Like, it was never directly referenced, and it was mixed in with all of this clearly fake B-roll.
Was there any footage that they actually said this is from?
No, that's insane.
Moment where they did that. That's so weird.
Yeah, because this is made on the cheap, right? And it's very easy to have a bunch of talking heads and spend an afternoon filming them saying shit.
Yeah.
And then splice together a bunch of B-roll.
Yeah, that's how we made all of our documentaries.
Yeah.
Well, and there are thousands of YouTube videos like this. A lot
thousands.
There are.
Billions.
So I'm not trying to exaggerate, but this has become a genre in and of itself. And too many people, some people, like, they take this at face value. And I mean, that's just me throwing things out there too, but there has to be an audience for taking this at face value. This is not just, and the people aren't just making these videos for someone to take the piss out of.
Well, I think, so for years, I think there's been this general idea that, look at Fox News or the...
I don't want to look at Fox News.
the even further right-wing purported news, like Sinclair, ONN, that have popped up. There's this idea that it's on TV, so they can't just be lying. And of course, like, we all recognize, yes, they actually can.
Yeah.
But this is YouTube. They can just do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, no one is going to take them to task for saying anything.
Unless they use, like, unlicensed WWE footage or something, in which case that video is down instantly.
Yeah.
Welcome to WrestleMania! Delete!
Was that just mankind walking through?
We're trying to make the world a better place for mankind.
How up to date my WWE references are. I got Mick frickin' Foley.
Yeah. That's Mick Foley's the best possible outcome for the Bigfoot footage.
And I mean, we chose this one because we were looking for the sinister truth. We didn't find a sinister truth,
but I think we can give them the last word when they finally tell us in the last few seconds of this documentary
what doorknob confession,
what that sinister truth actually was. So we'll let them reveal that sinister truth right now.
When the web of mystery spans this far and wide, it can be difficult to see how it all ties together, and perhaps it may not.
The movie was 47 minutes long. Can't stress that enough.
It may be difficult to see how this all ties together, and perhaps it does not.
This is an entire essay with no thesis statement.
Yeah, I know! Did you learn nothing?
I'm pretty sure that note was in there because they gave the script to somebody to edit, and the guy just wrote in notes at the end, and they just kept reading.
Yeah, that's just their editor saying, it's kind of difficult to see how this how this all ties together, and perhaps it does not.
It's all about inflection and emphasis.
Okay, well, with that out of our systems, why don't we move on to something nice?
It was a good time. Didn't have to do any research.
Yeah. They did all the research for us.
Did they? Did they, Jim? Or did they, just like us, spend an hour talking out of their ass about Bigfoot?
I feel like I've gone first like the last 3 times, so I'm skipping me this time.
Alright, well, I spent a lovely afternoon reinforcing the roof of my shed, so hopefully it stays at head height instead of waist height this winter.
Fingers crossed for you, Dave.
For those of you not in Winnipeg, we had more snow than we know what to do with last year. And, yeah.
Yeah, and in early spring, we got a huge dump of really wet snow that was so heavy. Like, a bunch of trees came down and stuff.
And very literally the third most amount of snow on record in Winnipeg.
It's good times.
Hopefully our shed will stand.
Yeah.
Well, I can go if nobody else wants to go. I've actually got a few. I have some nice things.
Mr. Optimistic over here.
Yeah, well, you know me.
Yeah. No, this is Podcast Gem.
So I've got a book, I've got a TV series, and I've got a game. I'll do the game first. Haiku the Robot is one that I've been playing on the Switch lately. It's also on PC. It's just a lovely little Metroid-style, Vania-style game. And it's basically what if Hollow Knight, the exact game, was just remade from the ground up to look like a NES/Game Boy Color robot game, themed robots, but basically all of the mechanics are the same. Like, the story is absurdly similar, but it doesn't have to break new ground. It is just more Hollow Knight style stuff for folks who like Hollow Knight, and it's lots of fun. I would recommend it if you're into that sort of thing. The TV series that I would recommend is one that probably doesn't need recommending, but Laura and I are just in the process of finishing the final season of Better Call Saul. And, of course, I love it. It is gripping. I like those characters. Just love it. Just delightful. And then finally, the book that I'm reading right now is the new Jason Pargin book, which is called If This Book Exists, You're in the Wrong Universe.
Oh no.
And it's the fourth in the John Dies at the End series. And it's fun. It's fun, and it is thematically resonant with this episode, because the characters in that book are living in a town that's full of paranormal shit that's always happening. And they have become de facto paranormal investigators, but the way they actually make ends meet is they film shit and put it up on YouTube and then have links to premium content that their gold and platinum subscribers pay for. Which is exactly what Small Town Monsters? Is exactly what Small Town Monsters does. Yeah, it is a comedy horror novel. It's fun. It's fun. It just makes me laugh a lot. Jason Pargin was like the main guy who ran Cracked for most of Cracked's existence, and had
in its second existence.
Yeah, right, in its online existence.
Yeah.
The website that became Cracked's online presence was kind of arguably started by...
This is a differentiation without a difference that you and I care about.
by Jason Pargin. Anyway, he used to write under David Wong, but he has thankfully finally dropped that pseudonym. Good book. It's fun.
My something nice is that the kids' Halloween costumes have come together really nicely. So I know this comes out in November. but it's a week and a half before Halloween now, or a week and a bit. And I like to make my kids costumes because it's fun and I like being creative. And I don't do it much, but I can be really crafty and pretty good at it. Kids' costumes are really fun to make, so I'm just really happy with how they're coming along. So finishing touches this week, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, they look great. Laura has put together a Beetlejuice costume for Huxley and a Frodo Baggins costume for Kira, and they look fantastic.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Well, I can show you some of the costumes upstairs before you leave.
And also, your front yard looks fantastically Halloween-y. It's great.
Thank you.
Yes, we're recording in person. That's my something nice. I left the house for the first time in a while.
Yay!
You can't see me do the double thumbs up at the microphone, but I am. I left the house.
Woohoo! We're glad you did.
Actually, last Saturday, Dave and I took a short road trip so he could go to work, and Dave and I we listened to a.
Oh, this is that baking wizard series or something, right?
Not a series. It's a standalone.
Oh, it's standalone?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is about...
I heard something about this, probably from you folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned it when we were at your birthday thing.
Here. Yes. No, not the Screw Tape Letter.
Screw Tape Letters? You're reading C.S. Lewis?
Listening to C.S. Lewis being apologetic. Because of course I am.
Hey, I read The Great Divorce.
It's called A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. It's an 8-hour listen or a short read written by T. Kingfisher, who's also an excellent follow on Twitter. And she doesn't know how to bake, but she put this together at the start of the pandemic when everybody was playing with sourdough. And it's quite fun. So there you go. That was long and rambling. Got there in the end.
My something nice is, number one, I have really been enjoying the most recent arc of the Adventure Zone, which the last couple have been not really my cup of tea. But this new one that they have started is about a group of criminals who pull off heists in the in-between layers of a futuristic theme park sort of thing. And it's just like right up my alley, and I am really enjoying it, and I'm glad that they are back to silly adventures with no really bad accents. And I also have been working on Halloween stuff, and I finished a piece of sewing that I bought the fabric, and 4 days later I had a dress.
Nice.
Like, that's never happened before in my life. So, and it fits super well, and the pattern worked out without me having to edit it, and someone else did all of the drafting for me. Very exciting. It was a very good project, and I am very happy with the results.
It's holographic, it's spinny, it has pockets, it's beautiful.
I'm probably going to make about 6 more of them.
Nothing but
my new uniform.
Oh, that's awesome.
Cool.
Good episode, everyone.
Yeah, it was fun.
What we're talking about next time?
I did. I remembered the thing that I remembered the topic that I thought of before.
So what are we talking about next time, Ashlyn?
Okay, here's what I'm going to pitch it to you. I would love for us to each choose a person and describe why, even though the internet can't really cancel people, this person should be canceled.
Oh. Wow.
Just do yourself a little mini biography of someone terrible and why they don't deserve our support.
Okay.
You have to pick just
one. I think it'll be a fun little rant, yeah. It'll be a fun little rant show. We all have someone in mind, I'm sure.
No autobiographies, Jen.
You can't cancel me!
Sounds fun.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I'm glad you liked it.
Well, thanks for joining me tonight, folks.
Thank you. This was an excellent time. I don't know if it will be an excellent episode.
We'll leave that in Marissa's capable hands. Well, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Show notes and references for all of our episodes are available at lueepodcast.com, where you can also find links to donate or get in touch. If you'd like to support the show, the best way to do that is with a review on Apple Podcasts, or wherever else you found us, or by sharing this episode with a friend.
life. Don't talk to me about life.
Because they call it Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Another word for it is a sabe.
A sabe?
Yeah,
Oh, really? I'd never heard that term.
that's what I was for field day.
Oh, really? Cool.
That means you're in my assistant teacher's group.
Oh. So what do you
And
kids
then
think
off
of
we
the
go.
idea of a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot?
Yep.
Yep. You think it sounds...
Happens in the movie of it.
Well, there are lots of movies about it. Do you think it sounds plausible? Do you think it sounds likely?
What happens in the first, in the cartoon?
I don't know what cartoon there would be. When you say Sasquatch movie or Bigfoot movie, all I can think of is Harry and the Hendersons.
What happens in that movie?
This is how Huxley relates to the world. Is there a movie of it? Describe the movie of it to me.
Yeah.
How does it clean your gums?
Okay, so we have one child who is diagnosed with ADHD, one who is probably should be, and a father who indulges them and also doesn't do anything to manage it. This is on par for their conversation. Had you all not been down here, he would have been gone for another 20 minutes talking to them about
gum hygiene.
Gum hygiene, and then whatever random stuff Huxley came up with next.